Hey guys, and welcome to the channel. I'm Zemo, the Dad in DPS, and we are back with another episode of The Good, The Scrap, and The Script, a series where I review weapons in Appalachia and see how well they do. Now, today's weapon has been in the game ever since launch, and I've just never bothered using it. But one thing is for certain, that it's very good for getting legendary crafting done. Today's weapon is Scrap 4 modules. Now, if you don't get that joke, well, I'm not explaining it to you. This is a bloodied double power attack pickaxe. And yeah, the pickaxe is a weapon that does have some pretty nasty damage on there. So it should be interesting to see how well this weapon works and how well it does. I've never really used one. And it is one of those things where I don't know why. I really don't know why, because the numbers are actually pretty good on it. Either way, let's see how well it does. Now, this is the build we're currently using. Take a screenshot, do whatever you like. I don't really care. We're not talking about the build. So, before I go any further, I will reiterate with any of these melee-related videos, we are using food buffs. Now, when it comes to this weapon, we are obviously, you know, like we're using like the sharp pickaxe. Now this does have, is it bleed damage? I honestly forget. I think it's bleed damage. Now with regular attacks, you are two-shotting most of these enemies, which is always a good sign. Like two-shotting anything is a sign of something being quite strong. Against the bigger super mutants, you know, one-shotting them with power attack quite easily, which again, very, very good. So yeah, its damage is actually decent. You know, it's not like it's you know, opening a hole in time and space. This is the kind of thing with melee weapons. You know, there's a lot of melee weapons that are actually really good, really decent, that do pretty significant damage, but you know, they're not as good as other ones. And this is kind of the thing. Like, this thing will one-shot things like super mutants. As you've seen, we've been in here and I've killed a bunch beforehand, but fumbling my words and didn't record it properly. But this thing actually works really well. It's quite a strong weapon. Its swing speed, like, leaves a lot to be desired. But, you know, you could always get swing speed on it to optimize that. But the power attack damage it does is quite significant and quite good. So I think, yeah, it's a decent weapon. And with the Super Mutant dead, we come to Jeff. Now, as you can see, this thing is dealing some pretty significant damage to Jeff, and we're killing him in basically 4 hits if I went for power attacks. See, it kills him quite easily. Not a problem. And now we come to the Mirelurk Queen. Now, when it comes to melee against the Queen, I have a hate relationship with it. She is one of the tankiest, biggest pains in my butt in the game, and you saw, like, on the screen, I'd already died to her, because the thing is, you can get an unlucky hit from her and she can one-shot you with a bloodied melee character. But you're seeing, like, the damage is, you know, decent, but it's one of those things where when you're melee, I just don't recommend going up against the Mirelurk Queen. She's just got really decent damage, and in the next patches, that might even be more true. She's just a big pain in the butt. Is it worth killing her? I suppose, but at the same time, I hate her so much. This thing does work really well though. So we come to expeditions. Now, when it comes to these enemies, you've got the Overgrown Elders, which aren't quite dying to one shot, but granted, my health isn't actually as low as it should be at the moment. So, you know, at actual bloodied range, we would have been getting a one-shot there. You know, we would have been getting that full 90% damage. So the weapon does some decent damage in here. You know, you're killing the competitors in about 2 hits with power attacks. You're one-shotting them. It's quite significant, like, damage. You know, it'll get you through here. One thing I would say is that technically this is an inferior version of weapon that you would use in here. If you're going to use a pickaxe in here, you're actually better off using its variant, the Headhunter's Scythe. And that reason for that is these guys are super weak to bleed damage. So if you use that in here, this thing just completely evaporates everything. But this weapon, you know, it is entirely usable. It's a decent little pickaxe to play around with. but I would say that it lacks something that quite a lot of the other melee weapons do. You know, it's not got the same raw damage output, it's not got the same like special effects, elemental damage. You know, there's just something that's missing from it. It does have that little bit of bleed, but it isn't as significant in general use as it is in here, because you're seeing on the enemies that I hit with it, they are taking more bleed damage than, you know, standard enemies would. So I feel like it's decent if you're wanting to use something with a little bit extra flavor, something a little bit unique, a little bit, you know, different to everything else you're using. It's definitely a weapon to use, but it's just not as strong as so many other weapons in the melee category, and there's a lot of really good weapons to pick from. So yeah, that was the bloodied power attack pickaxe. Now, what I'm going to say is this is a decent weapon. It is going to do what you need it to do, but there are definitely some better versions of weapons in the game that are just going to do a lot more damage, have better swing speed, all manner of different things. It is very much a case of this weapon is entirely usable, but it isn't the best at what it does, unfortunately, and it isn't even arguably the best. It is behind things like your Electro Enforcer, it's behind the Warglaive, it's behind even like the Super Sledge and other kind of weapons like that. It just doesn't have the same wow factor as some of these weapons. Granted, if you want to use something that's a little bit different and, you know, more unique, because you don't see many pickaxes around, you can go down that route. But, you know, with melee, a lot of the time, just about anything will do what you need it to do. This just isn't as good as some of the other options that are out there, though. Either way, guys, that was today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, and I will catch you next time in the Wasteland.
Through the dark, moonlight's dimly shining, a shadow creeping. Feel your hearts entwining, a twisted mind, seeking prey to